everyone, welcome to June and also welcome to another episode of the SarahGold Show. I am Sarah, your host and media entrepreneur. So I would like to use this opportunity to thank everyone who has been, who has been following us so far on the show, who has been participating. Thank you so much. Thank you. And if you're just joining us too on the show, thank you so much for coming on board. We really do appreciate you. So if you're online right now, please join us and send your section. If you're just joining us, if you're online and you can see me right now, please send your favorite emoji to the comment section. All right. So the Sarah Gold Show is an international online TV talk show that features and recognizes individuals and entrepreneurs who are doing an amazing job, impacting the society positively. So on today's episode, we'll be talking about humanitarian works. And our guest for today is an amazing personality. She's an amazing woman who is, you know, making positive impacts in the society, helping women and girls, most especially in the lower income segments of the society. Her name is, she just joined us now. Good to have you on the show, Ma. You're welcome.
Good to be on the show, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ma, I can hear you very well,
Excellent.
loud and clear.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the privilege, the honor. Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome, Ma. So our guest for today, which we also call the iconic gold due to the impact they are making in the society, is Miss Ayotola Jagun. She's a lawyer by profession. She is a social justice advocate. She's a coach. She's a teacher. She's also an humanitarian. And, she's committed to national transformation and development to drive a better and inclusive Nigeria for all. Good to have you on the show, Ma. Thank you.
It's great to be on the show again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I can see we have someone just joined us, Ngozi Oyewale. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for joining us on the show.
That's an icon. That is, if there ever was an icon, she is an icon. I see Catherine Bickersteth is on as well. An amazing woman. These are amazing women.
Thank you. Thank you, Oshodi Ibike. Thank you. So if you can prepare your questions after the interview. You drop your questions in the comment section, and I'm very sure she'll be willing to answer all your questions. Thank you. So all right, so we go straight into today's show. We are looking at the topic humanitarian works and the impacts of charity organizations in Nigeria. All right, Ma, so let's get started. I'm so excited. I can't wait to hear you talk about, how you've been doing, to help women and girls, most especially. So to start with, you are a lawyer. You're a social justice advocate. You're a teacher. You're a coach. You're a humanitarian, to mention but a few. So how do you balance all these responsibilities? How do you cope?
I honestly would say it's nothing but grace, because it is a lot. Sometimes I have a wonderful EA. You've interacted with her, Busayo Balogun Augusto, and sometimes she always says to me, "Ma, I just don't know how you do it." And honestly, I don't. All I know is that while we have life, and there's life in us, there's so much to be done, especially when we look around us and we look at Nigeria and we look at what's going on. In fact, I wasn't always in Nigeria. I was working abroad for a while, and what made me come back to Nigeria was that desire, the desire to impact, to have impact, and particularly to have impact in my country. And so since I've been back, I think from the very first moment I stepped foot in Nigeria, I was just alive to all the social needs that were around me. I was really alive to them and wanted to make a difference. Fortunately, also, I was able to be part of a local church congregation that was impacting its community in the Jakande area. And
Okay.
so it was very easy for me to fit in. I must say, while I was abroad as well, I did a lot of social work. The church I was involved in Bermuda particularly did work in schools. They had feeding programs in the society. They did missions to Haiti, to, to countries that had had this, um, massive destruction, whether it was Japan with the tsunami, or it was Haiti with the earthquake. And so I was always in an environment where it wasn't just enough to say, this is what I believe, but to actually act your faith and to put it to works, to show your good works. And so for
Wow.
me, that's what's important. In terms of how I juggle, God gives grace. That's all I can say.
Wow, great. So, tell us about your charity works organization. Why did you start it?
So I have a number. So within the context of my church, we call ourselves a cell church. So it's not about just coming on Sunday. It's also about the small groups and building relationship within small groups. So the life of the church is actually in the cell groups. And in my own cell group, I have a number of teenagers there. And I began
Okay.
to look at their needs. They were mainly educational, and they were also just social needs. These are children from very low income households. Some of
Wow.
them are not able to attend school except with assistance. Some of them are never thought about going to university. Some of them have actually stopped going to school because their parents couldn't afford to send them to school. And I know you'll say to me, well, they're free schools, they're public schools, but no, nothing is free in Nigeria. Even with the public schools, you still have to pay. For PTA, you pay, and something as little as 1,000 naira is a struggle for some families. And so I decided it was, like I said, it's not just enough to preach at them or preach to them. It's also, how can you make their lives better than they
That's right.
currently are? And I also saw that there were issues to do with confidence, a lack of confidence. And the more we pressed in, the more we realized that, and actually the suggestion came from one of my cell group members, who's my assistant, who said, we should do something in the community, not just with the girls, the teenagers in the cell, but in the Jakande community. And we realized that a lot of girls lack confidence, because even with things getting harder as they are in Nigeria, even to be able to afford sanitary towels is a big problem. And so a lot of them use cloth. And I did a poll. I said, how many of you use sanitary towels? And very few did. A large number of them still used fabric, tissue. And it actually, there was a lot of period shame, and that had to be addressed. And
Wow.
it's not just supplying their needs, it's also addressing the shame that comes along with it. So for a number of girls also, when they started their period, it wasn't a thing to be discussed. It wasn't a thing to be celebrated. And I remember one of my friends, I went to high school with her. She was sharing with me that when she started her period, her dad killed a chicken. It was a big thing of celebration. And I remember asking them, when you started your period, was it celebrated? Was it? And none of them had that experience. And so I just felt, look, we need to change this. They first of all need to see that emerging into womanhood as not anything to be ashamed about. And they need to understand what it means. That it means that they're capable of giving life to something. And then we need to help them through that period so that they don't make mistakes, and they are able to fulfill their dreams. And when they're having children, it's coming at the right time. So we demystify everything to do with periods. We demystify everything to do with their sexual organs. We demystify everything to do with things that they face, like sex, like rape. And we talk to them about all of these things while empowering them by giving them the things they need to feel less conscious, and also empowering them with the information they need to be able to make smart decisions.
Wow, great. Well done, ma. I have a question here. I think you should answer the question before I move to the next question, because it's still related to what you have been talking about. He said, what's your focus in the humanitarian space at the moment, at present?
So at present, it's mainly with these young girls, and two things. One, I was recently appointed late last year as a director of part of the governing board of the Mirabel Center. Now, Mirabel, I don't know if you know, is
Congratulations, man.
yes. So Mirabel is probably the first sexual assault referral center, SARC,
Okay.
in Nigeria, in Lagos, actually. I think
Okay.
even in Nigeria. And they've been doing amazing work for the last 10 years. In fact, I
Wow.
must say, when I came back to Nigeria, that was one of the first things I plugged into. I've been involved in Mirabel, I think, for the last 8 to 9 years, and they do amazing work. So that is one area of priority for me. And then the other area of priority for me is with these young teenage girls. And I invest not just in this particular project, but also in their education. I have a number of girls who I'm sponsoring through university, first in their generation to attend university, and some others who are going in now. We have 4 girls who just actually passed their JAM, and provided they pass their post-UTME, will be starting university whenever the ASU strike is over. So you
But
understand the challenges in our
yeah.
environment. Yeah, so those are the things that I am very concerned about. And also, for those who need to learn a trade, being able to support them in that as well is very, very important. Because even for the girls going to university, we always insist that they learn a trade so that they're able to sustain themselves. So while I might be responsible for their school fees and paying them a stipend, it's really not enough to keep them comfortable. They need to do a trade to help themselves through school. Yes.
Okay. Do you offer mentoring programs as well, aside giving them money and helping them?
Absolutely. So the way the cell structure works is that actually it is a mentoring mechanism. It's on the
Okay.
basis that really, look at it. Jesus had 12 disciples who he mentored for the 3
Yeah.
years that he was alive. And so that cell structure enables you to pay attention to their individual needs, to get to know them, to know their homes, to know their challenges, and meet with them, engage with them every week, and even beyond every week. There are times I have one-on-ones with them when they're going through a particular difficult period of time. And for me, when I know I'm succeeding, is when they're able to come and tell me their challenges with boyfriends, their challenges with making mistakes,
Thanks.
different, yeah, when they're able to come to me and say, look, I messed up, what do I do? And being able to love them through it and help
Exactly.
them to see that, look, there's hope on the other side. Yes.
Wow, great. Okay, so in 2020, you established the Oniru feeding program.
Yeah.
At, yeah, during the COVID-19 pandemic. What was the initiative about?
Okay, so this is just another case of a conversation turning into action. So during
Okay.
of course, you know that the federal government, first of all, called a lockdown. And I was having a conversation with what I call my Oniru Loves. Oniru Loves
Okay.
are just a group of 5 friends who live in Oniru, and
Okay.
we look out for each other. And so I
Okay.
was having a conversation with my Oniru Loves, and we were thinking, oh, how are these people going to cope? There are a number of people who live in shanties, who live in uncompleted buildings in Oniru, who, because it's still part of Oniru under development, who go out in the morning to look for work to get money to eat for the day. Now, if they're not able to go out because of the lockdown, how are they going to survive? Are they also, for our sake, are they going to be a threat to the community? They have not anything to eat. How do we take care of them? And I can take care of people on my street, but what about those who are living on other streets? Or how many people can I really realistically take care of in my street? And
Yeah.
so we kind of talked about it, and now it's a problem, and we must do something, and government must do something. And of course, government had the palliative program, COVID and other things were up and running at the time. But again, it was being able to access that, and actually reached out to someone in government to say, look, if you have any problems feeding people in these areas, I can help. But of course, who am I? Nobody's going to come back to me to say,
Exactly.
here, go ahead and help. And so I went out that morning for my usual walk, and I came across a lady selling, pork beans and rice. So I asked her, how much is a plate of beans and rice? How much do you normally sell? And then later on, I had an interview with her, later with one of my neighbors. We went over to see her and asked her some pertinent questions. how are people buying food these days? And she said to me, she said, before she used to make quite a bit of money, but now people will buy one meal before they leave for work. And then at the
Wow.
end of the day, they will buy maybe 50 naira gari to hold their stomach until the next day. So whereas
Wow.
people would feed twice a day, now they're just feeding once a day, really. And that now that they can't go out to work, it's very difficult. So we started the initiative. We
Okay.
started the initiative by just calling for people, set up a website, got people who were my friends who lived in Oniru to tell other people who lived in Oniru. And before we knew it, we were over 250 people on this WhatsApp platform. And
Wow.
within 3 days, Sarah, we had raised about 14 million naira. It
Wow.
was my bank account we used. I had a GT account I wasn't using at all. Sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned GT then. But I had a bank account I wasn't using, and I opened that up, and I was shocked. And for me, I was shocked because, you hear so many things about people not giving because they don't trust.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember reaching out to friends and saying, they would call people calling me to say, "Are you really the one involved in this?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Well, you want to give?" I said, "Well, I will give account." They said, "Oh, it's you. You don't need to give account." I didn't realize also I had a reputation of being
Sure.
at least upright, but that really helped. But what we did was every day we gave
Okay.
accounts. Every day we published on the website a list of everyone who had given and the amounts they had given. And then we
So,
tallied everything up. I printed the bank statements, made it available. And we said, if your name is not reflected and you've given, please let us know so that we can actually acknowledge it, because some people gave anonymously. And with that money and a volunteer team of about
okay.
maybe 80 people roughly, we were able to break ourselves up into different groups. Those who would go and buy, those who would cook, and what we not even cook, distribute the food. What we did, because in every compound there is normally a woman who cooks, at least one woman who cooks. So we would give them the raw materials at the start of the day and get them to cook. So they were also making some money because they couldn't
Money.
go out and hawk food. And they would
Wow.
cook for everybody in that particular center. We had, I think, a total of 16 different centers scattered all across Oniru, with
Wow.
feeding stations. And so we would give the women the raw materials at the beginning of the day, based on
Okay.
the number of people they had in that they were taking care of. They would cook, and in the evenings we would supervise the cooking. At some
Okay.
point, we used drones to supervise the cooking, to
Wow.
supervise the feeding, to make sure that people were being fed. Again, that was also the only way we could keep the environment safe and not have people coming from outside. Because if you start handing out food, people will come from different places to get food. And we saw what was happening in Lekki. Lekki also had its program. Ikoyi also had its program. But this is where citizens come together to do something and make a difference. Government can't do everything.
Wow, great. Well done, ma. Well done, ma. Do you have plans to extend this to the mainland? Because I can see that all of these are majorly on the island. So do you have plans
Oh, so
to extend to other
so so
communities?
so here I'm going. So here I'm going to talk about one of my company is called Owando PLC. I'm sorry I have to mention that, but we have an employee initiative. This was set up by the employees of Owando, so not by the company itself. It's called
Oh,
Tap
oh,
to Reach All, and Tap to
oh,
Reach All is a feeding program that is on the mainland and on the island. And what we do is we work with local food banks, local charities who do feeding programs, and we
okay.
provide them with cash to be able to feed families. So TAP has
Wow.
actually collaborated with Abraham Sent Ministries in Lekki, but we've also uh, collaborated with Lekki Food Banks. We've also collaborated with feeding organizations in Alimosho local government, in Ikeja, all over in Ikorodu, to feed people there. And so I think we've raised about 60 million in the almost 2 years that we've been operating. And we've
Wow.
been able to successfully feed families. And when we talk about feeding families, we're not talking about just giving food for a day. We're talking about
They,
giving food for a month to families that really would not be able to. So there are so many initiatives, and we're not the only company, I believe, that are focused on zero hunger, but this is something that we're really interested in, that nobody goes
wow.
hungry, and we're hoping that this will grow.
Wow, thank you so much. Okay, at this junction, I would like to appreciate everyone who has joined us on the show. Thank you so much. Please do stay tuned till the end of the show. Thank you. All right, Ma. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Let us talk briefly about charity organizations in Nigeria, because some people are of the opinion that most charity organizations in Nigeria are for profit making. They after sourcing for fund, they still use it for their personal gains without fulfilling their promises. What's your take on this? How would you address this issue?
I think that there are challenges within the sector, but you can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. The truth is, the government alone cannot solve the challenges in Nigeria. Even we as individuals alone, a lot of us do a lot of do social work. We have extended
Exactly.
family members who depend on us,
Yeah.
but we can't meet
Yeah.
every single need from our extended family. As inflation increases, as the economy gets tougher, it becomes more and more difficult to be able to.
Exactly.
Look, we're talking about even unemployment rising. We can't meet every need. The price of food. We even have issues of food security in terms of the amount of food available. And so non-profit organizations come in place to fill the gaps. And just as you have bad ones, you have a whole lot of good organizations doing great work. It's almost like saying, oh, all Nigerians are corrupt. We know that's not the case. You and I certainly are not. So, we need to, rather than use it as an excuse sometimes not to give, because some people use that as an excuse not to give, I think we have to understand that in every family, there will always be the black sheep, right?
Yeah.
And so that doesn't mean that that family is therefore condemned because you have one black sheep coming from that family. So
Thank you.
in the same way, you can't condemn the whole sector because there are people who have bad intentions. But you can do your own due diligence in making sure that the charities that you're engaging with, the
Okay.
money you're giving them is going to where it needs to go. So where a
Exactly.
charity refuses, for instance, to provide information to you about their impacts, even just even photographs, even providing accounts, financial statements, then there's a problem. And I think that the drive of the Financial Reporting Council at one time wanted to come up with a code of corporate governance for non-profit organizations. And there was such a huge noise about, oh, no, you can't. I think it is what is needed. Every
Yeah.
organization needs to be accountable,
Yeah.
especially those who claim to be based on some form of righteousness. Do you understand?
Yes.
Especially religious-based organizations. There shouldn't be a problem with you giving accounts of the monies you've received and how you've spent those monies. Certainly nobody can take those monies away from you, but you should be able to show
Exactly.
this is what came in and this is how we use the funds and this is the impact we're having. So yes, I think due diligence is important, and certain things, governance steps need to be put in place within the sector, whether it's done voluntarily within the sector or it's made mandatory by government. I would think it's better for us to actually do it voluntarily within the sector. I think it's important.
All right. Thank you very much, Ma. Okay, so before we go, what's your advice to women and girls passing through difficult times? Now, we are in a very critical state in Nigeria. So, what's your
So
advice to
there's
them?
this saying that tough times don't last, but tough people do.
Yeah.
I think that it's very difficult when you're going through a crisis or you're going through a difficult time to see the other side of things. But, for a lot of us Nigerians, we have faith, we're religious people. So let your faith count for something. Don't look
Yeah.
at your current circumstances and allow it to overwhelm you. Look, there's this video that's been viraling on social media about looking beyond the clouds.
Okay.
Look beyond the clouds and listen to, hold on to what it is, that hope that it is that you have for yourself. I would also say that it's important to actually sit down and critically evaluate what it is that you want and how to get there. Because there are a lot of resources out there. There are lots. And I think many times people they allow their problems to overwhelm them and they don't ask for help. One, there's no shame in asking for help. At different points in time in my life, I've had to ask for help and lean on other people. So don't be afraid, don't be ashamed to ask for help. One. Two, research and look out for the resources that are available to help you. There's lots of training that they will even pay for your transport to come and get trained. There's a lot of training out there if you don't have the training to enable you acquire a skill to just get on. We've talked about Mirabelle, there's Warif, there is Chichiyara. There are resources for if you are in an abusive relationship or an abusive situation that you need to come out of. Again, those charities are there. And perhaps what is needed is a directory of charities that is accessible to people so they know what is out there, what is available to help them. And then, like I said, always lean for help, always ask for help. Don't be too ashamed or afraid to ask for help, and always keep trusting that tomorrow will be better.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma. Okay, lastly, before we go, for those who would like to reach out to you, especially those who are truly in need, who truly need help, how can they reach out to you? Is there any...
Okay, so I'm going to leave my personal email address, which is Jagun, AOJAGUN @gmail.com. AOJAGUN@gmail.com. I would also say if you're a teenager between the ages of 13 and 19, on the last Saturday of every month, we at Abraham's Tent Ministries, which is on Rhythm Avenue, Jakande. That's the road that the craft market is off, the road that leads all the way to, or used to lead to Cool FM. You can come by at 11 a.m. rather, on the last Saturday of every month, where we have our teens outreach. You will receive a care pack, which consists of sanitary towels, soap, deodorant, and you'll also get instruction on just different things that concern us. You'll get the support you need, the help you need, and the referrals you need, if you need any referrals. And so please show up and we'll be happy to assist you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who has joined us on the show. Thank you so much. If you have questions, we are accommodating questions right now. If you have questions, please drop your questions in the comment section. I think the only questions I can see here is the one I read to you, Ma, the previous time. Other time.
I'd like to acknowledge some people who are on. Jaido, he actually joined from the UK. Jide, lovely to see you online. Annie, thank you so much for joining from the US. I mean, you have an international audience here.
Wow, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much to Oyinkan, thank you so much for joining as well. And these are all people, I must say, who in their own spheres are doing great work.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. Ma? Thank you. Thank you,
Sarah. Well done for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Ma. So we've come to the end of today's episode of the SarahGold Show. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel at the SarahGold Show TV. So if you have a business or whatever you have that you would like people to know about, please try to kindly reach out to me via a direct message, and I would definitely attend to it. Till I come your way next time, bye for now, and do have a lovely June. Happy new month once again. Bye for now. Thank you so much, Ma, for coming on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Awesome.
Thank
awesome
you.
work.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ma. Bye. All right. Bye.
Bye for now.